Hello everyone. I want to introduce the cbind and rbind functions to everyone in this lecture. The purpose of these two functions is to combine two data sets with the same number of columns and rows together so that we can form a new data set. Let me use an example to show everyone how to use the cbind function first. Suppose we have three vectors related to sports. We use each vector to contain the sport name, sports leagues, and the trophy names, as you can see on this slide. We want to use the cbind function to combine these three vectors together and form a new data set called sportinfo1. What we wanted to do is to use the C function to create a vector first. As you can see, the first vector is called a sport, the second vector is called a league, and the third vector is called a trophy. And then we want to use the cbind function to combine these three vectors together. When you use cbind, each element in cbind is the vector name. Notice that all elements in each vector are currently listed horizontally. They are in rows, as you can see on this slide, right? When you use the cbind function, this function will change the elements in each row vertically. It will change each row into a column and then combine the columns together into a new data set. Let's take a look at what the function can do in the R software. Let's copy the code and then paste them into the R software. Now we created a new data frame called sportinfo1. Let's take a look at what the data frame looks like. Sportinfo1. Let's type in the data frame name and then press enter. As you can see, each row is changed to a column, right? Before, the sports name are listed horizontally. Now they are listed vertically. This is what the cbind function can do. And then the cbind function will combine these three columns together to form a new data frame called sportinfo1. This is how you use the cbind function. Remember, cbind will change the rows into columns first and then combine the columns together into a new data frame. When you use the cbind function, please pay attention to the following rule. The number of elements in each vector must be the same. For instance, we have three elements in the sport vector, right? In the next two vectors, we must have three elements. Now let's take a look at how to use the rbind function. Suppose we want to create the second data set. It's called the sportinfo2. Similar to the sportinfo1 data set, we list the sport name, league names, and trophy names into a data frame. Let's take a look at the sportinfo2 data frame. Let's go to R and then paste the code. Now we created a new data frame by using the function data.frame. Let's take a look at sportinfo2. Press enter. Very similar to sportinfo1, right? Now we want to use the rbind function to create a combined data set. Let's call the combined data set sportinfo. We want to combine sportinfo1 with sportinfo2. We want to use the rbind function. Rbind means we want to select each row from a data set and then put this data row into the combined data set. Let's say we want to create a new combined data set called sportinfo. What we want to use is to use the rbind function. The elements in rbind should be the data frame or vector name. The first one is sport info 1, and then a comma, and then sport info 2. Press enter. Now we created a new combined data set called the sport info. Let's take a look at sport info. As you can see, the rbind function will select each row from the separated data set and then put the row into the combined data set so that we can form a new combined data set. This is how you use the rbind function.